Hello, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to the Journals of Captain Princess. Welcome to the Queen's Journals. If you are new to my channel, this is my laboratory, and I'm needing to just sit back and journal for a bit and think because I am having a moment. The problem with the abstract world is being able to find the vocabulary to explain what it is that I'm looking at. That is easily the first challenge of living in the abstract world, is defining what lacks definition. Definition is depth. That's really what the word means. Definition is depth. To define something adds depth to it. Abstract depth. Definition is abstract depth. It's shit like this that I do. Definition is abstract depth. And when you have words and they carry weight like abstract depth, and that's just it. Suddenly, when you get into the world of the abstract, words fucking matter because every word adds a level of depth to the abstract, and all the words that are used in the material plane cease to exist. They cannot exist. And the reason why is because they lack definition. The definition is so sloppy. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about this, a psychologist, and she was using the word humility. And I was like, no, I don't like the word. And she's like, well, it means this. And I said, no, it does not. It means this. And I defined it as having little to no self-esteem. I said, that is not something to aspire to. And she goes, well, that's not what I mean it to be. I said, I know, but that is what the word does mean. So we looked it up and she went, oh my God, that's what the word means? Yes, it means little to no self-esteem. Now, is that something I want to cultivate? Absolutely not. Is that something I want in myself? No, it is not. And yeah, our subconscious mind associates little to no self-esteem inside of the word. So every time we use it, our logical health is picking up that word and going, all right, little to no self-esteem it is. You want to aspire to be humility? You want to aspire to be humble? Well, there you go. You now have achieved little to no self-esteem. That is how the subconscious mind works. So suddenly in my world, when you get into the world of the abstract, it's suddenly a very heightened sense of conscious awareness of what these words actually mean and how they are being used. And understanding the psychology of linguistics. That's a whole field that no one knows exists. The psychology of linguistics. And when you get into the psychology of linguistics, oh, holy shit, things really start to make sense. Because suddenly your subconscious mind is running and living off of these concepts, and it's feeding fuel into your subconscious mind and your logical health. And suddenly your subconscious mind is not functioning properly. And you're going, I don't understand why. Well, logical health and the psychology of linguistics. Like this is A plus B equals C. Bottom line. So now she's like, okay, I don't want to use the word humility. What word should I use instead? I said, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I believe the word is self-value. You want self-value. But if you have too much self-value, there's self-value and then there's pride. They're not the same thing. I had to look them up. And I think it's self-value. And when you lack self-value, you have arrogance. And when you lack pride and self-value, you have humility. Humility is being void of self-value and pride. And arrogance is having pride without self-value. So you have to have self-value and pride to prevent arrogance. And you have to have self-value and pride to prevent humility. So this is the spectrum. This is the spectrum of humility to arrogance. And you really want to be in that center space where it's self-value and pride. And self-value and pride, when you combine those things, give you security. But it's a different kind of security than the other security. So I'm still working out the words because logically they don't quite yet add up, but I'm closer. I'm closer. What I love to use is the word privileged allowance. Oh, maybe it's just empathy. Maybe that's it, is it's empathy and pride. Maybe it's empathy. I'm not good with empathy yet because I just learned it because I had narcissism. You cannot feel the emotion empathy and narcissism. They are incompatible. You cannot have both. And I just removed, about 2 weeks ago, I removed narcissism. It was so funny because you learn empathy in the ninth perspective. And that's when you get empathetic and you're like, whoa. And I had no idea what the emotion was. I called it dignity, but that was the wrong word. And I knew it then. I was like, I don't know what to call this thing. And for a time, I called it unidentified emotion X. And then I called it dignity. But I'm like, dignity is definitely not the right word. And when I fixed the first and the second perspective, it fixed my empathy. And I was able to go, oh my God, that's empathy. Oh, that's empathy. And so now I'm still very new to empathy, but I think I know now I'm feeling it. It's all buzzing and everything's logical and it's adding up. Empathy and pride prevent arrogance, but there it is, but too much empathy creates humility. There it is. So pride contradicts humility and empathy contradicts arrogance. That's it. I found it. That's it. Oh my God, that was, yes, I'm an 80s child. And yes, that was me totally quoting like Land Before Time. I found it. All right. So once you have empathy that combines with pride, now you have self-confidence. Now you have confidence. Yeah, it's not security, it's confidence. Now you have confidence. Now you've got what it takes. So, all right, I feel better. I solved that equation. So I had this epiphany when I was in the shower just now, of course. And I can't remember. It was really big and it was really fucking important. And I was, oh my God. Oh yeah, receiving love. You cannot feel, it makes sense now. You cannot receive anything, unless you have experienced the first perspective. You have to internalize the first perspective in order to receive. And I had written a letter to my partner this morning, and that is really what solidified this. As I was talking to him about, I've never received love because I had to internalize the first perspective in order to receive love in the second perspective. And I could say I like to call the second perspective the learning perspective, but I also love to call it the receiving perspective. The receiving perspective. Because that's how you receive. And if you do not feel comfortable enough, safe enough to open yourself up and be exposed, you are not going to be able to receive, which makes a lot of sense now because a whole lot of narcissists have not internalized the first ethic of comfort. So they cannot receive love. They cannot receive that perspective. That's very interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing how these things really, it's those first three perspectives are the crux to all of this. And because our learning perspective has been compromised, and that is like the be all end all of our existence, is integrating that first and second ethic. And first and second ethic are the first two foundations to trust. It's absolutely extraordinary. I'm just kind of I have definition now. I had this whole, this is the internal expanse. That is what I do. I am a cartographer of the internal expanse. Oh, that is so much nicer to say than the mouthful that I had yesterday or the day before. And that's it, is as you go through the internal expanse, you start off with this much. This is it exactly. These are the words, people. When you enter the expanse, you start off with this much and you're going, how do I even begin to explain it? And you just can't. You just stand there in awe going. And then you get to the eighth perspective and you can start to say it and you say this much. And then you get to the ninth and the 10th and the 11th and the 12th and then the first and the second. And now I'm in the second and I'm going, I'm a cartographer of the internal expanse. Got it down to 3 words, technically 4. 4 words from here I'm very impressed with myself right now. This is self-impressiveness. Yes. So I feel fantastic. Oh, I'm a cartographer of the internal expanse. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Oh my God, that makes so much more sense. And if people ask me, so what is it you do? What's the internal expanse? Okay, you know where mathematics, money, and time come from? Yeah, that's the abstract world. Yeah, that's my bitch. That's the internal expanse. There's a whole lot more than just math here. Holy fucking shit, is there? So it's just the subconscious mind. Really, the internal expanse is the subconscious mind, level 2. Yeah. Most people are stuck in the subconscious mind, level 2. Or I'm sorry, level 4, level 1, floor 4. There you go. There's the words. So most people are stuck in the subconscious mind on the first level, the fourth, I'm going to go Mario Brothers here. So most people are stuck in the first level of the fourth world of the, yeah, there you go. I think it's level versus worlds. Okay, you're in the first Mario Brothers world on the fourth level. That's it. I have gotten through the first level and I'm on the second world now. I'm on the second world in Cloud World, but I'm like 2 levels in. So there you go. There's perspective. We're going to go video games on this. There you go. So that makes sense. So I'm like mapping out the levels of the subconscious mind, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. So, and it's just cartography. It's understanding how to map it all out. And I found out that, oh, this isn't psychology. And as I told my psychologist friend, this is something I said to her about 3 or 4 days ago. I said, you know, this stopped being psychology a long time ago. She goes, oh, I know it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Because this isn't psychology. Psychology is like a blip, a blip. And I'm going, what the fuck is this? Now, Aristotle called it metaphysics, but I would say, and it is metaphysics. It's metaphysics. What does meta mean? Anyway, I gotta look this up. What does meta mean? The world of meta. I don't want to look up the word metaphysics. I want to know the word meta. What does the word meta mean? We use it all over the place. Awareness. Informal. Showing or suggesting an explicit awareness of itself or oneself as a member of its category. Self-awareness is meta. That's what it means. Cleverly self-referential. Meta means explicit awareness of itself. It's self-awareness. That is what meta means. Fascinating. Metaphysics. Self-physics. You fucking gorgeous man, Aristotle. You beautiful man. Which he referred to as the first philosophy. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Self. Oh, the first philosophy is the self. You is the second philosophy. Oh, you fucking beautiful man. They is the third philosophy, and omniscient is the fourth philosophy. Oh, I see this now. This makes so much more sense. Okay. See, clarity. Oh, that's all right. All right. So meta means self-awareness. It means, yeah, it's self-awareness. Physics. All right, that makes sense. So I would say, and yeah, that's it. It's absolutely fascinating. Meta means self-awareness. I feel like I'm on a ship. I've used this metaphor before. I will forever use this metaphor. I was so happy with Plato when I was reading Plato's Republic. I like skimmed it. I didn't skim it. I read a sentence. I read a paragraph. And the paragraph was on alma mater. No, that's my word. The paragraph was on the ship of state. And I was looking up government and how to build a society. And Plato gave his opinion. And I wonder what Plato said about government. And when I looked it up, ship of state popped up. And I was like, ooh. And he was like, Plato would refer to, and this is all referencing his Republic. And he explained that government, he referred to it as a ship of state because he loved ship metaphor. And I felt bonded. I felt connected to Plato because I also love ship metaphors. I was like, yes, ship metaphors. So I do. I feel like I'm on a ship, and I'm on this meta ship. I am on a meta ship, and I just transverse into this metaphysical realm and into the abstract world on my ship. And hence Captain Princess. Yeah, that's right, Captain Princess. I need to bring Captain Princess back. So I had a ship. I had a ship named the HMS Slush Brain. I will tell you about my slush brain. Oh, I love the slush brain. The HMS Slush Brain. All right. So I was Captain Princess of the HMS Slush Brain. I was an author. This is when I had just finished writing my books. It was 2015. And I was supposed to go on board and talk to a whole bunch of authors and readers. And I was supposed to promote my books and build a platform. And I noticed that there was a whole lot of authors out there all doing the same thing. And I went, hey, and they're waving back, hey. And we ended up like getting together a group of us. There was about 12 of us. And this was all on Twitter. And I created a group. Well, first it was us like just joshing around and really, because we're all writers, we're highly imaginative and we're all writing. And so we're all creating these verbal realms in social media, and this thing exploded. And I went, all right, no, we're going to go over here. So we launched everything into the Slush Brain, the HMS Slush Brain. And we dropped, and we're all fantasy novelists. We're all fantasy novelists. So world building and everything was like this extravagant. Oh, it was so much fun. And we had this metaphorical HMS Slush Brain. And because I was the one who organized it, I was Captain Princess because I had a crown. And so they called me Captain Princess, and I was in charge of the HMS Slush Brain. Slush Brain is the state your mind reaches when it overlearns, when you learn too much and you just have brain jelly and you're like, oh my God, I cannot learn anymore. That is Slush Brain. So we were all researching for our books, and we were all like, and it was so funny because we were like, how do you kill somebody? Writers are awesome people. Like, oh yeah, I know so much about tree frog poisons and the process of hanging people. It's for my book. It's for my book. And then we had days where we were like, skinning people. That was something else I researched. And then there's like, when you look at your Google history, you look like a murderer. This is an ongoing joke in the writing community, especially if you're a mystery writer. You have to like tomato soup and iodine, or not iodine, it's tomato soup and arsenic and tomato soup, because tomatoes cover the taste and tracing of arsenic. The shit you know when you're an author. And so we were having a whole, hey, how do you kill people? What's your favorite way to kill people? These are the conversations we're having. And it's hilarious because when you really map out all this and you start to do the research, you get into a lot of really dark material, and you have to make light of it, because if you don't, you really, writers have to be very ethical people. They really are. Yeah, they really have to be ethical. Murder, She Wrote was a huge inspiration for me. I watched maybe 3 episodes, but I did not process that she was an author at that time and that she was doing research for her book. So it's really funny. And we would get together like, oh my God, my brain. And I'm like, yes, slush brain. And they're like, what is slush brain? And I'm like, it's the feeling you get of overindulging in research. And they're like, yeah, I got slush brain. So then I created the ship, the abstract ship, the HMS Slush Brain. And they referred to me as Captain Princess. And we would take breaks. It was basically a writing group that allowed us to escape the writing, and we could escape and walk away from it. And then I got into my healing, and that really pulled me out of it. And now I'm like, it's weird because it's going forth in the abstract. Doing the work that I do it's unprecedented, and that's easily the hardest challenge with what I've got is, how does it look? How's it supposed to look? And there is no supposed to. The word supposed to is easily the ugliest, most horrific word in the entire English language. It is fucking disgusting. I hate the word supposed to. Let's look up the word supposed to, because when you look up supposed, it's like, this is what you have to do. It's such a slave word. General, assumed, or believed to be the case, but not necessarily so. Supposed to be part of a modal verb phrase, meaning expected or required. There you go, expected or required. Now, I require to do things by logic. Bottom line, logic is my little bit. Well, I am the bitch of logic. I am the little bitch of logic. True story. That is like solid. I am the little bitch of logic. So logic is literally the dictating factor that tells me what I am and am not supposed to do. 100% of my decisions are based off of math and logic, which is why I ask the questions. Does it feel right? Does it feel good? And does it give me joy? Because those four things are what dictates a person's logic and math. And right is ethical, good is aligned, and joy is happy and healthy. So there you go. Is it ethical? Is it aligned with me? And is it happy? So that's what I go by. And you have to have a solid logical health and ethical law in order to pull this off. Well, logical health is your ethical law and it's your identity. So you have to have a defined ethic law and a defined identity to have logical health. And the more you have a defined identity and ethical law, the stronger your logical health is. And the more you understand physics, logic, and math, yeah, you're going to be fine. Nothing's going to touch you. So I've got my thing here, and I'm going, all right. So supposed to, yeah, according to logic, that is what I'm supposed to do. Like, yeah, and it's funny because our intuition is pure logic. I would say intuition is our pure logic that moves to the rhythm of math, the mathematical rhythm of pure logic. That's what it is. It is the mathematical rhythm of pure logic. It's the thing that says, okay, now you're supposed to do this. Because the rhythm and the math and the logic and the frequency says so. And when you have a solid, stable logic, math, geometry basis, when you are that tuned into physics and it is that solid and that ingrained into your ethical law and your identity, oh, you listen to your intuition. And we start developing this when we're 2 years old. This is like, we start developing this when we're 2 years old. So I feel better. What was it? There was like this big thing that I defined and I went, oh, that's what that is. Really important to know. And then I ignored it. Was it receiving? Vulnerability. Was it vulnerable? You have to be vulnerable to learn. You have to be vulnerable to receive love. You have to be vulnerable to grow. No, it wasn't vulnerability. Second perspective. What was it? It was like this massive, oh my God. So that's what that is. And I just can't remember it. I'm tired and I'm hungry. And I know intuition is logic. I know that's math now. God, I wish I could remember it. It was like this big word that just came down and I went, oh, that's what that is. Maybe I just need sleep. Maybe I just need sleep. I just feel it's this sudden state of existence where this is it. It's a sudden state of existence where I'm realizing that that this is my life. And that's okay. And it's so lacking of urgency that it's confusing. And I think that's what it is it's so lacking of urgency that I'm going, it can't be this easy. And it is. It's this easy. It's okay. So I'm doing my research. I'm journaling my progress. I'm writing about my insight. I'm expanding my mind. I'm on a voyage into the internal expanse of the subconscious mind, which is the abstract world. I map the abstract. That's what I do. I map the abstract. I'm a cartographer of the abstract. And it feels really low key. It's really low stress work. It's really low stress work. And it's funny because you have to have a solid philosopher's compass to pull this off. You are fucking not doing this work without the philosopher's compass. And I can see other people wanting to do this for a living. I want to be a I want to do this for a living. And it's, yeah, it's my God. It's literally the educational pathway. It's the educational pathway into the abstract. It is the educational pathway into the abstract. That's what philosophy was. That is exactly what it was. It wasn't a lover of wisdom. Oh, I could, no, so poorly defined. Like I said, defined is, I'm tired, abstract depth. And it requires a tolerance of all language. There's a calm. That's what I feel right now, is a massive calm. Every time I have more comprehension, it's followed. It's a wave. There's comprehension. That's what it is. There's like stages of understanding, I'm going to call this the stages of comprehension, because I'm noticing this pattern. And this is a huge part of it, is you have to understand pattern. Is you have, basically, it's from confusion to comprehension. And as you go through the confusion to comprehension arc, there's definitely an arc. And then you hit a point of comprehension, and that's when you can condense, articulate, and your communication improves, and then follows communication. So it's definitely confusion, comprehension. It's confusion to comprehension. And with confusion, there's like part A, part B, part C. You have to do A for confusion, and then you have to do B for confusion. These are currently undefined. So you have X, Y, and Z. So you have step 1, X, step B, Y, step C, Z. And once you find all three of those, you gain comprehension. As soon as you have gained comprehension, that leads you to insight. And then you can condense and articulate, communicate, and then you redefine. And then you do it over and over again. You redefine. And then you get back into confusion. It's a circle. It's a circle of confusion. A and then B and then C occur. And then you have comprehension. And then you have insight, and you condense it and you articulate it. You communicate it. You explore it. And while you explore it, you redefine it until you're confused again. And then A, B, C, comprehension, insight, condense, articulate, communication, explore, redefine, confusion again. And this is growth. This is literally the educational pathway. And I have to define A, B, and C. That is my current goal right now, is defining A, B, C. This is like a whole nother depth of, I am so tired. I am so tired. And this is what happens literally every perspective. Every perspective, I go through this pattern over and over again. I have done this 7 times. I have watched other people do this. And it's like, I'm going to get so good at this. I'm afraid of this. I'm going to get so good at this that I'm going to get into a perspective, and 3 days later, I'm going to be in the next perspective. And then 3 days later, I'm going to be in the next perspective. I am terrified of that. I think that's when I become energy, because physics says so. Because energy is speed. It's the speed of light. It's the speed of learning. That's what it is. It's the speed of learning. Let's talk about the speed of learning, because the more you learn, the faster you go. Oh, yes. The speed of learning is faster than the speed of light. Yeah, true story. And people wonder why they have ADHD. Speed of learning is faster than the speed of light. They're like, oh, nothing is faster than the speed of light. I found it. It's the speed of learning. Because once you get this, It's epiphany, 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 and you are moving. And I can feel the frequencies getting faster and faster. And I'm going, this is why I block, is because I can't write this fast anymore. I have to dictate everything because my hands can, and I'm a fucking pianist. Like, I have to clarify, I'm a pianist. So I'm like, yeah, like, come on. I can't write this fast. And it got to a point where the ideas were happening a lot faster than my writing. When I write, I have to slow down. So I switched over to blogging. And now when I get with the right people, it's even going faster. And then when I get ideas, boom, 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 I can't keep up, especially when I'm in the middle of a perspective shift. I'll just stand there in silence because the information is going faster than the speed of light. Information, speed of learning and speed of information is faster than the speed of light. Now, what I want to know is how to track the actual speed of learning. But I can't do that until I've learned more physics and neuroscience. I can definitely see neuroscience being a part of the physics at that point. So we're going to have to learn neuroscience, physics, and psychology, and philosophy and metaphysics to get all that together. That's what I see. That is what I see. That is my plan. And then, and it's so funny because the more you learn, the faster you learn. So you start off with art the first 8 years, and then you cram communication into like 1 year, and then it really takes off. Like, boom, it takes off. And this is something that's been nagging me. Where would I be if I did not have mental illness? Because my mental illness significantly deterred my knowledge. And I'm going, it's fascinating. But it was my multiple personality disorder. And here's the thing. I did this on mental illness with all of them. I had all of, which ones didn't I have? I did not have psychopathy. I was going to say Machiavellian. I don't even know what that one was. I have to look into that one. So it was interesting because I'm like, interesting. I had most of them. And I'm going, fascinating. So now I'm going, where would a person be if they are undeterred and they have, and this is what I see. I see children at 8 years old being geniuses and being telepathic and telekinetic and ESP. I see this so clearly. And the only thing holding us back is, that's what it is. Expectations. That's what it is. That's the word. The only thing holding us back is X. And that's the word that I went, oh, that's what that is. What was the word? The only thing holding us back is our underestimating ourselves. The only thing holding us back is disbelief. That's a big word. The only thing holding us back is disbelief. Potential. Our true potential. We are grossly, this is the epiphany I had in the shower. We are grossly underestimating our potential. I will remind you that physics has a lot to say about potential energy. And people don't think we're physics. Oh, yeah, we are. Potential energy. We are ADHD is suppressed potential energy. Oh, I knew I would find it. ADHD is suppressed potential energy. Boom. That's what ADHD is. Oh, God, I knew the answer was in physics. Oh, boy, I've been looking for that one for a whole week. Okay. ADHD is suppressed potential energy. Boom. Over to physics. Potential energy. I knew I was going to find it. I knew there was a breakthrough in here somewhere. La, da, 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 da. See, there's the epiphany. See, let's go back over to the little graph here. Communication, insight. So there's the epiphany. Epiphany. Okay. Potential energy is energy that is stored in an object due to its position or condition. It is not a force, but it can be converted into kinetic energy, which is energy of motion when the object is released. ADHD is potential energy needing to be transferred over to kinetic energy. Oh, yes, my beautiful ADHD people. That is what the answer is. ADHD is when you have potential energy that is being suppressed, needing to convert over to kinetic energy. So how do you take potential energy inside a human being and turn it over into kinetic energy? I don't know. Potential energy is chemical energy, batteries. Ooh, there it is, there it is, there it is. Chemical energy. Nuclear energy, gravitational energy, elastic energy. Kinetic energy is mechanical, electric, light. We need to turn it into something. That is kinetic energy, is transferring it. We're not transferring our energy. We are underdue for epiphany. That's what it is. Oh, let's go back over to epiphany. Epiphany. I need hormones. Epiphany hormones. Epiphany. I already know what the epiphany hormones in. I already looked at this, but I'm going to look at them again. What happens in the brain when we have epiphanies? Epiphany hormones. Boop. Let's try something different. What happens in the mind during epiphany? I can spell epiphany. In the brain. Come on. I know it's dopamine. I know dopamine is a huge one. I don't want what happens. Which hormones are released? I researched this a while ago. Oh, in the mind. I need to clarify the brain. During epiphany. Dopamine. Yeah, dopamine and serotonin. So I want to say that potential energy is dopamine. It's, oh my God, it's suppressed dopamine. It's suppressed serotonin. This makes so much sense. What hormone does the pineal gland release? I need to study brain chemistry. Hormones released in the brain. Come on, during epiphany. I'm going to have to study hormones. Okay, adrenaline, cortisol. You know what? I bet you that's why they have cortisol also. It's taking dopamine and chemical, and as a result, you get cortisol instead. So yeah, so this is what I do. This is awesome. Absolutely. ADHD is potential energy that is suppressed, needing to be turned over to kinetic energy. I knew this shit was in physics. I'm sitting there going, no, something's going on here. Potential energy. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Now, also, when you take into frequency, when you take into a person's frequency and they're also forced to slow down. So my question is, what is the relation of physics, frequency? What is the relationship of frequency to potential energy? That's the question I'm looking for. I have a new question. I love new questions. So the question is, what is the connection between? What is the connection between frequency and potential energy and kinetic energy? Because one of the things, see, frequency builds up potential energy. Oh, absolutely. And once you realize this, ADHD, is literally the suppression of potential energy. Oh God, I knew that was there. I knew it. My logic was just screaming, it's in physics. It's in physics. And I'm going, I know, but where? I know, but where? And it's when, okay, I wish I had okay, so here's the black hole. And as we move away from the black hole, time speeds up. It's really, really important to know is time speeds up. And where we are in relativity to the black hole is not dependent upon the material plane. What it is is the abstract plane. It's not taking into account the abstract plane at all. Oh, I'm onto something. Oh, I'm onto something. I'm onto something big. I got to draw my graph. So you have the black hole. And the further away from the black hole you go, things get faster. Things are slowest right next to the black hole, which is why time speeds up. Time is not a dimension. Well, it is, but dimension is a location. It is a location in relative to. It is literally a block of space, a blocked, named space in relative to the black hole. So right now we are in 2024, and that tells us, here's the graph. This tells us literally where we are in relativity to the black hole. Now, I believe that this is the material plane, though. That tells you where the material plane is, but that does not tell you where the abstract plane is. And I know, because the logic and the physics and the math is screaming, the abstract is on a different. So there is the material plane, and then there's the abstract plane. And now you're getting into the abstract world. And we exist on two planes, the material and the abstract. Now, this is where your perspective comes into it, because your perspective tells you which frequency you are vibrating on. And frequency, if you know anything about frequency, look at my funnel graph. This is frequency. This is absolutely where we are in relativity between two spaces. A frequency is a wave in which there are two spaces, and how often, rhythm, how often the frequency occurs, or the pulse, how often the pulse occurs. It's literally the rate of pulse. That is what frequency is. It is the rate of pulse in relation to the black hole, the rate of pulse. So I'm a 12 plus 2 perspective. So let's say the 12 plus 2 abstract perspective is here, but let's say a fourth perspective is here. So this is going to be my frequency, my abstract frequency, and this is going to be their abstract frequency, even though we are all in the year 2024. So you have the material plane coexisting alongside the abstract plane. Now, when you look at potential energy, when you get into physics and you're looking at potential energy and it's being suppressed, help me, I'm being suppressed. Sorry, Monty Python. It's being suppressed. You are preventing potential energy from converting over to kinetic energy. Now you got people with the shakes. That's why. It is literally suppressed potential energy. So now comes the question, how? See, it's what is the connection between frequency and potential energy and kinetic energy? But now my other question is this. How do you release potential energy? It's not a release. It's a transfer. You want to transfer the potential energy in the abstract over to kinetic. And that's what I don't know yet. That is my current mission, is to figure out how to transfer potential energy over to kinetic energy. Now, I don't have it. I am in the 12 plus 2 perspective. I know how. I know exactly how. And I have a daughter who has this problem. I believe it is the misaligned combination of perspectives, so that she's supposed to be in a frequency 6. She's supposed to be in a frequency 8, but she's not, which means she has not learned enough because of the trauma, because the trauma took her out of the second perspective, which is full circle, second perspective, son of a fucking bitch, the second perspective. Oh, I need a bottle of champagne. Holy fucking shit. Oh, I see it now. Oh, do I see it now? All right. So here's what happens. When you have the second perspective is where you're supposed to grow. But if you're traumatized, you get frozen in the first perspective, or you get frozen in the first perspective, or you get, let's call it an alternate dimension, because there's no place. It's the trauma zone. The trauma zone. You get frozen in either the trauma zone or you get frozen in the comfort zone. That's it, bottom line. You can only learn in the adventure zone. Aha. Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is. That's the potential. That's the potential energy. You are no longer in the adventure zone. It is the deficit of the adventure zone. You need to get into your adventure zone. But you can't do that until you've had a surplus of the comfort zone. But you're stuck in the trauma zone. The only place where you can convert potential energy over to kinetic is in the adventure zone. That's the connection. That's why you have boredom. Because boredom is the antsy feeling because you have potential energy that's being suppressed. Adventure zone, potential energy transfers to kinetic via action. You have to do. Oh, this makes so much more sense. Oh, this makes so much more sense. This is why we do interdisciplinary studies. This is it right here. This is why we do this shit. Okay. That makes so much more sense. I'm going to have to translate all of this for you. Okay, so this is what it means. So you have two components when you are learning. You have your first perspective and you have your second perspective. And then you've got a third, we're going to call that, I already have the name for it. That is called an invasive perspective. There it is. I love how this is going full circle. All right, so here's what's going on with full circle. So you have an invasive perspective. All right, and that's the trauma zone. That's the trauma zone. All right, so here's what's going on. When we are born into the comfort zone. We are born into the first perspective. Now, the goal of the comfort zone is literally to just indulge and gluttony ourselves on comfort. Once we gluttony ourselves on comfort, we reach that point of epiphany, which is back to my educational circle of confusion, comprehension, insight, we condense it down, we articulate, so that is the full educational circle. Once we realize, okay, I have learned all I can learn here, I'm ready to go on, we experience the emotion boredom. That's when we reach epiphany, that's when we shift priority, and now we're ready to go into the adventure zone. This is when the floor as we know it becomes lava. This is exactly what happens, is when the floor becomes lava. I'm going to call it this. This is officially when the floor becomes lava stage because we have to go adventure. And the best way to adventure is when the floor becomes lava. So, and then we start hopping all over the place to avoid being burned by the floor lava. Now, when this happens, we switch over into the adventuring zone. But trauma happens. Trauma takes us out of the adventuring zone and puts us into an invasive perspective. You don't grow in an invasive perspective. You only grow in the adventuring zone. Now, how to get back to the adventuring zone, and this is how it's done. You are in the invasive perspective by one of three methods. But before I go over that, let's go over to how education is learned. This is how we learn. You basically indulge, and then you avoid because you're fucking sick of the cookies and you want health food. And then you realize that an integration is healthy and best. And then you indulge again. And then you get sick of it, so you avoid. And then you realize, oh, I want to integrate both. And then you indulge, and then you avoid. And this is what I call the pendulum paradigm. Actually, that is the pendulum. But the paradigm occurs when we're traumatized. So that while we're being indulged, usually on discomfort or abuse, we swing for the avoid and we get stuck. Now we have suppressed potential energy because we are stuck. Now we are avoiding, not because we've had enough, but because of fear. Not because we're wanting to learn how to integrate both. We are avoiding because we're afraid. So now we are no longer in the learning zone. Now we are permanently frozen in the trauma zone. And as a result, we are not doing the healthy integration, indulge, avoid, integrate. We're no longer doing this. We are stuck permanently now over here. Now, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to get stuck over here or you're going to get stuck over here. If you're stuck over here, that means that you are seeking comfort, and you probably have an addiction. You probably are terrified of adventuring. You're probably bored a lot, and you're probably self-loathing. This is your first perspective. The other people are the ones who get stuck in the adventuring zone / trauma zone. If you're in the trauma zone, stage 2 or 3, when you are traumatized, if you're in the adventure zone when you're traumatized, you're going to go to the trauma zone and you're going to get stuck there. But if you are in the comfort zone when you're traumatized, you're going to get stuck there and you're not going to come out. So you have two people now, either traumatized over here where you are in the comfort zone and you're terrified of adventure, or you're over here and you are desperately needing to get over to the comfort zone, but you can't because you are trapped in a fear zone. You are trapped in the trauma zone. So the people trapped in a trauma zone have to get over to the comfort zone. Then they'll be okay. The people who are trapped in the comfort zone have to get into the adventure zone, but they're scared. So they have two different lessons to learn. Now, once you get out of the comfort zone and get into the adventure zone, then you go back and everything swings back the way it's supposed to with integration, and now you're back again. Now, you only can learn in the adventure zone. Now, let's go over to ADHD for a minute. So when you have ADHD, what's happening is you are building up all of that potential energy, and you can only convert it over to kinetic energy when you are in the adventure zone. But you're not in the adventure zone. You're stuck in the comfort zone, building up boredom, getting antsy, getting annoyed, because you are needing to convert that over into kinetic energy. Meanwhile, you're stuck in the trauma zone. You've got to get yourself over to the comfort zone so you can get into the adventure zone so you can release your potential energy, but you're not. Now, here's the thing. I got stuck over at the trauma zone, so I never developed ADHD. But people who are stuck in the comfort zone do, because they are building up potential energy. You don't build up potential energy in the trauma zone. You survive and you fight. So ADHD does not develop in these people, but it develops in these people because these people are storing up potential energy that's not getting converted over into kinetic energy because they're not doing and taking action. As a result, it's not converting over. So now they're growing, their minds are expanding. They ethically are at a 6, being forced to slow down at a different frequency that isn't theirs. They're in the comfort zone, but they're not growing. They're there too long. Now they're stalling out. And now that's converting over into suppressed potential energy, which they can't release because they've got to get into the adventure zone. Once you get into the adventure zone, that should do it. That should then allow you to convert your suppressed potential energy over into kinetic energy, and it should cure your ADHD. Yes, I'm impressed with myself right now. And I should be. I'm very happy with this. I am very, very happy with this. I still need to figure out what the connection is between frequency and potential energy, because frequency is part of this, and I just can't figure out quite right yet. So now comes the question, okay, how do you learn? Well, and now we're back to, it depends on which ethic you're at. It depends on, then this is where freeform education is so vital. Freeform education is going to solve all of this. Freeform education is going to be amazing for this. So freeform education. Yeah, absolutely. I knew the answer was in physics. The answer is always in physics. Physics, physics, physics. All right, I have done enough of my brain for today, and I want to think. Yeah, I'm very, very happy with this. All right, but that's ADHD. ADHD was bugging me. There was so much about it. I'm just like, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. There's something wrong here. It was really, really bothering me. All right, what else is there? Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's good for a day's work. My world is so fucking surreal. All right. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.